All right, hello, Algebra 1. Today we're going for distributive property. Okay, so that is on page 9. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So the first example that you can see is that it kind of looks a little weird. Well, we're going to spend a day with algebra tiles, and it'll look like this. So we're just going to go ahead and skip that problem, but we might use it sometime in the future. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just go to number 2. Okay, so if we want to use the distributive property, which you guys have done before, you know how to distribute something. So if we're given example number 2, we want to distribute 3x into 2x plus 5. So let's go ahead and distribute that. So we've got 3x times 2x. Well, 3 times 2 gives us 6, and x times x gets us x squared. And then 3x times 5 gives us a positive 15x, because you're doing 3 times 5, and then the 3 has the x on it. Okay, so that's our answer here. For example 3 and example 4, it gets a little bit more challenging, so we're going to create, a little box that'll make it easier. So if we want to multiply this stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of set it up where we have x minus 7 and then 2x plus 1. So once I have that set up, I can create this sort of box that helps me step by step on what I need to multiply by what. So here's this box that I created. So what I can see is that for this box here, I'm doing x times 2x, which gives me a 2x squared. The next box that I'm doing is this one here, which gives me 2x times negative 7, which is a negative 14x. Okay, the next box that I'm multiplying is this box here, which is x times 1, which is just 1x. And then lastly, I'm going to multiply this last box through, which is negative 7 times positive 1, which gives me a negative 7. So once we've multiplied all of that through, what we can do is combine these terms that are in the diagonal, because those are like terms, which you guys should know about, and if you don't, go back to day 1. Okay, so what we'll do is combine those two like terms, but we'll take these two first. So we'll have 2x squared and then a minus 7. And whatever this is what we're filling in the blank. So negative 14 plus 1 gives me a negative 13x. So I use distributive property to completely distribute that problem and get that answer. Okay, we're going to do that same process for example number 4. So I'm going to go ahead and make that same box that I did before. So I can have 3x plus 1. Oops, that's not a 1. Let me try that again. So I've got 3x minus 1 and then 5x plus 3. Well, let's create our box. So the first box that I'm going to do is 3x times 5x. Well, 3 times 5 gives me 15, and x times x gets me x squared. The next one that I'm doing is the negative 1 times 5x, which gives me negative 5x. The third one is 3x times 3, and in this case that is 9x. And then lastly, we've got negative 1 times 3, which is just negative 3. So our next step is to combine these two terms in the middle. So we got 15x squared. We combine these two terms to get a positive 4x. And then we bring down this negative 3. And this is my answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that again, but it'll be with a binomial and a trinomial. Getting crazy. So we can do that same setup. I'm going to put the bigger one on top, so I've got x squared plus 3x plus 4. And then I've got x and then minus 9. So I'm going to make my box. So the first thing we're doing is our x squared times x, which is x to the third power. Then I've got 3x times x, which is 3x squared. Then I've got 4 times x, which is 4x. Then I've got x squared times negative 9, which is a negative 9x squared. Then I've got 3x times negative 9, which is a 27x. And then I've got 4 times negative 9, which is negative 36. So I'm first going to take down this x to the third. Then I'm going to combine these two in the diagonal. So 3 minus 9 gives me a negative 6x squared. The next thing I'm combining is this diagonal. So I've got 4 minus 27, which gives me a negative 23x. And then lastly, we're going to take that minus 36 there. Okay, so here's our wonderful answer for number 5. And let's just do it one more time for example number 6. So we're going to do that same process. I'm going to put x squared plus x minus 5. And then 2x plus 1. So I make my wonderful box, and now we start multiplying. So x squared times 2x gives me a 2x to the third. And then I've got x times 2x, which gives me 2x to the second. Then I've got negative 5 times 2x, which is a negative 10x. Then I've got x squared times 1, which is just x squared. And I've got x times 1, which is just x. And then negative 5 times 1, which is just negative 5. So I'm going to take my first number. I've got 2x to the third. I take one of my diagonals. So 2x plus x gives me a positive 3x squared. And then I take my other diagonal that are like terms, keep in mind, which I've got negative 10x and 1 positive x, which gives me a negative 9x. And then lastly, I take my negative 5, which is just a minus 5. And there's my answer. Okay, so distributing's not too bad if you do it in the boxes. Keep in mind you can still distribute everything by everything, but sometimes that can get a little confusing. Okay, so I suggest you use the boxes, but you don't have to. Okay, so go ahead and go back to your first page. Go ahead and cross off the booklet. We did that. And give the practice a shot. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.